everyone, it's Lorena again, and I am here to have another real talk, I guess, episode? I don't know what I'm calling these, but another real talk topic around how to be successful in your belly dance class. The things that I have come up with and points that I want to bring up is just through my own experiences, and I would love to hear what other instructors would add or even take away from their point of view when it comes to a student being successful within their belly dance class. So, number one, as y'all may all have guessed it, if you're any student of mine, please show up on time. There is nothing that gets me so frustrated when people show up or when students show up late to class, whether you are in a beginner belly dance class or you are in troop. Especially if you are in a troop, you need to set the example and be on time for your class. When you're late, it's so disrespectful. It might as well be telling the instructor that you don't care. On the flip side though, life happens. So if you're going to be late, that's okay. Contact the instructor first. However you do that, whether it's text, you call them, it's Facebook message, it's tweeting them, snapping them, whatever it is, just let them know, hey, I'm gonna be late. And so that way they know to expect you and it won't disturb them as much when they're instructing if you're coming in late. Number two, silence your cell phones. I referenced this also in the workshop etiquette real talk topic, and it's same applies in your regular every week class. Silence your phones. Nowadays with social media, we have all kinds of things going off, like signals for emails and snaps and tweets and people who comment on your Facebook status. There's all kinds of dings and whistles that go off, not to mention when people call you or even text you. So just go ahead and cut that out and silence your phone, or you could even leave it on vibrate. I'm okay with that. I think some instructors though would go ahead and say sometimes turn off your phone. Because that goes into self-care too. A lot of us go to our belly dance class to unwind and relax and do stuff for ourselves. And if our phones are going off or disturbing other people, then we're kind of not practicing our self-care. So do what you wish. I don't mind if it's on vibrate though. Third thing, follow the directions and instructions. So if the teacher is teaching a part of the choreography and she's telling you, okay, put your hand behind your head and the other arm comes out in front of you, don't take that time and just do whatever the heck you feel like just because you think it looks better or whatever. Change it when you're doing it as a solo, because I always say solos, you can do whatever you want. Until that time though, please follow the instructions and directions. You may have a great idea and that would be a good time to process with the teacher or instructor maybe after class, but don't deliberately do the opposite of what they're telling you to. Pay attention and focus. If you know that that's one of your issues, is the teacher is teaching it one way, but for some reason you're not getting it, or you find yourself not focusing in on what they're doing, let them know that. Obviously not in the middle of class, but let them know what your areas of growth are, and maybe they can help you in a private lesson or even right then on the spot in class. The fourth thing, ask questions appropriately. And what I mean by this is don't talk over the teacher when she or he is talking. It's almost kind of like you're back in the classroom. Raise your hand or wait for the instructor to say, are there any questions? You just want to wait until the appropriate time to ask those questions, and then to ask them appropriately. Make sure, check your tone and things like that, because when you try to call out a teacher or instructor like they didn't do it exactly the same way that they just did 2 seconds ago, just try to ask the question appropriately and not in a tone where you're accusing them or trying to catch them in a belly dance lie that they did that move one way 2 seconds different than the way they just did it. Y'all, it is tough teaching a class when you have, 5 to 10 to 20 students in there. It's tough, so please be patient and just ask questions appropriately, and the teacher will probably correct herself or himself once they realize what they did. Next, limit the side conversations. It is like one of my pet peeves when a student is really trying to learn and get down the moves and they're asking questions the appropriate way, and then there's this little chitty chatter over on to the side between two other students or what have you. Please don't do that, because if you ask me the same question that the student was trying to ask me while you were chatting along, I'm not going to answer it. I'm just not. And I'm going to stop the side conversation as well. I just don't tolerate that kind of behavior in a classroom. And that's what I think we have to remember. This is a classroom. People come here to learn, also to have fun. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time as well, we're learning and cultivating ourselves. So every question is important. And last but not least, if you know that you may not be able to retain the choreography or not sure if you're using the correct technique, don't jump up in the front and be front row, because when you're front row in a class, the people behind you, as much as they should be looking at the instructor, sometimes that's hard to do, and people will look at the front row. I do it all the time in workshops, especially if I can't see the instructor or whatever. I'll look at the front row, and if you already know that you don't know that choreography or you don't know how to execute the move like it's supposed to, it's okay to be in the back row. In fact, I like being in the back row in a lot of things, because I've always said, at least in a classroom setting, people in the front row have a lot of responsibility. I have different thoughts in an actual performance. I actually feel like the back row has a lot of responsibility when it comes to a performance. However, in a classroom, front row needs to set the example for everyone in the back, especially because people in the back may not be able to hear the instructor or see the instructor or what have you. So if you don't feel like you know it's solid, just get back in the back. Trust me, it does not mean anything about your skill. It's just making sure that everybody gets the appropriate attention that they need on their moves and that they understand what's all going on. All right, that is all that I have for y'all today. I would love to hear what your perspectives are as a student when you maybe observe what other students do within classrooms or in the studio when you're trying to take your class. Or even if there's other instructors out there, I would love to know what you would take away from what I said or what you would add. I think it's a big topic. It's a big thing, especially for teachers and the other students who are taking belly dance seriously. And it all boils back down to respect. And if you respect the instructor, it's going to get reciprocated, I promise you. So I hope everyone has a wonderful Sunday, and I will see y'all in the next video. And remember, don't let anyone dull your sparkle. Mwah! Bye!